fix that wig.
So listen, if you're looking at this video, when it's up on YouTube, we're doing this in two parts, has some technical difficulties. So thank you for viewing part one. I hope you liked, commented, and shared that particular video. So this is part two, where we're gonna round out this particular conversation. So we was getting into it, and we were talking about this concept of women that are predators. And before the power or the connection was lost, Dave was talking about something that was pretty interesting, something that I've seen in real life as well. So go ahead, Dave, build on that. And I want you to build on that. And I kind of want to jump in and piggyback on some of those points as well.
Yeah, so I went to JM over in North Richmond, right? And I'm just saying that because in our day and time, John Marshall, I went to high school, but it really didn't even feel like school. It was a fashion show. Everybody from North South Side John Marshall, just a fashion show. So yeah, all types of things happened at John Marshall when I went to school. We was bubbling, getting money, this, that, and the third. Anyway, so the thing was, though, a lot of the sisters, a lot of the girls, a lot of my friends and the childhood friends, they would be, we were fly. Like, I ain't gonna front on that. We were fly. Like, John Marshall was a fashion show. But the brothers from Northside that graduated 5, 6, 7 years beforehand will be always coming to pick up the sisters in my class and the class before and after me and be going to hang out with them. Like, yo, you graduated 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So you 5, 6, 7 years older. And you coming and you playing with these girls. They're 16 and 17. And the girls are engaging. It's attractive. It's normalized. You know what I mean? And now I know multiple children that are walking around, adult children, out of these situations. You know what I'm saying? And so not only has that been here, I got friends in Los Angeles that can attest, and women that attest. In New York, I know friends from Henrico County, Chesterfield, DC, New York, Los Angeles, women that attest to this, that, yeah, I got with the dude that was older. And even people we know personally. I got the dude he had an Acura, he had an MPV, he had a truck, he had money, he bought me things, he gave me attention for a little while. You know what I'm saying? But he was 8 years older. That's predatory pedophilia.
Yeah, it's a lot of cultural propaganda because it's something that we've always applied to women, and people try to use that to justify this behavior. They'll say, oh, women mature faster than men. Therefore, she has to date an older man. And I remember I was talking to a younger sister that was interning at a job that I had, and she was like about to be 18. And she said that she could only deal with men in their late 20s. And I'm like, you mean to tell me that out of the millions of 17 and 18-year-old boys out here, you can't find one that you can get along with? You have to date. Yo, you know what she told me? She said the oldest guy she dated was 36. Now, this was a girl at the time. She said that she was 17 years old. And she said the oldest man she's been with was a 36-year-old man. And she said this guy would take her to the mall, take her to restaurants, like basically finance a lifestyle for her. And she was like, can't no man her age do that? And so I think we have to be careful when we spin that idea of, women mature faster than men, because when you take that particular rhetoric and that fake pseudo aphorism, it can be used for people that want to exploit young women. And it's some real shit. I'm gonna just say it like that. It happens all the time.
Aaliyah said age ain't nothing but a number.
And that's bullshit.
Yeah, Keith Sweat. Yo, we could go down the list of the 80s and 90s R&B records. Yo, KRS-One wrote a song called 13 and Good.
Yo, I remember the first time I heard that song. Let me tell you this, because I'm a KRS-One fan, and this is like maybe back in 2011. And I thought I heard his, like, everything. And when I heard that song, I was just like, bro, 13
I was like 17 when the joint came out. I was like, and just the other day, I was like, hold on. Did he really just write? Because in the song, he talked about, he asked her how old she was because he didn't know she was 13. right? Because she lied. And so when he asked her, she said, "Oh, I'm 13 and I really want to be with you." He was like, "Nah, I gotta go." She was like, "Oh, I'm sad. Give me your phone. Let me call my dad." She calls her dad. Her dad comes. Her dad is like, "Oh, you want to be with my daughter? All right. Well, you gonna stay here and take your clothes off, Chris,
Yeah, I
and
remember
then
that part in the
or
song.
submit, and you can have my daughter whenever you want."
Yo,
So this is a song, but
yeah, it's
it's
real.
still a part of what we are dealing with, and that's just an example we're laying on the table in terms of what's going on, what's gone on, what we know very well is true and factual, and what's still going on.
Can I give you another example? And this is from one of my favorite artists, Foxy Brown. I'm gonna leave it alone. And I think you know what I'm talking about, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like, Ariel, let me ask you this, sister. Since we're on this topic, when you were in high school, did you know some of like maybe your homegirls or maybe some of your classmates that had this thing for maybe trying to date older men? And if so, from the perspective of a woman at that time period in your life and seeing your friends, where do you think that comes from? Like that thing of I need to date some older guy although I'm in high school.
So as me and Dave was speaking about it before the podcast started, I believe it comes from a lack of father figure in the home. So a lot of those, well, most of the girls in high school that I knew who were, I'm gonna call them victims to those pedophile predators, they lack father figures in home. So those older men, they could buy them things, they can get their hair fixed, they can buy them all the clothes, take them out. So a lot of them thought that was what they needed. So fortunately, I grew up in a household that had a mother and a father. So I didn't go out looking for a male to buy me things because whatever I wanted, my dad provided it for me. So a lot of those girls that I knew, they didn't have that. So they were looking for someone to be able to provide them with the things that they wanted. Because a lot of times in a single mother household, she's struggling. She don't have, the finances to give her kids all the glitz and glamour that they may want because they see, it on TV as being, this is what we need, this is what we have to have. So again, I think it's them looking for that male figure in our life, trying to get the things that they feel they should have. So those predators were able to say, hey, I got this. I can provide you with this. I can take you shopping. I can get your hair done. I can, whatever. So, and they fell, prey to that.
So I want to pose a question to both you and Dave. So we're speaking about the concept of younger women dating these older men, and I think we all are kind of equally disgusted by this particular concept. But this is the question I want to pose. Why is it we have discussed at that, but then if we hear like our nephew, who was like 13 or 14, was being sexual with like a 25-year-old woman or a 30-year-old woman, not saying the brothers here, but men will be quick to give that young man props like, damn, you bagged a 25-year-old or whatever, a 30-year-old and you only 15. Why do you think it is we're not as appalled by that happening versus if an older man is with a younger woman? And either one of y'all can kind of, pick up on that.
You want to start first, Dave?
It's the same thing. If there's not a psychologically astute man that has groomed you, that has taken you through your rights of growth and development, then you will fall victim, to dealing in ways, words, and actions or behaviors of being uncivilized. You know what I'm saying? And for you to know what's civilized and uncivilized, you need a father and a mother. You need a man and a woman, but you definitely need a man to show and prove, to model it, and then to groom and tell you and show you, what's not okay. You know what I mean? So before I close my, response to your question, I'll say this. Here we are going into 2022. You got these social groups or whatever you call them that have normalized men and men and women, even to the point where you got Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union's boy child, who they liberate, in their mind, they liberate to say, oh, he could choose to be a girl if he wants to. I'm not speaking against it, but what I'm saying is that now what's next on the docket in terms of, what we know as far as being African, and what Dr. Baruti talked about 5-6 years ago in the book Menticide, pedophilia is now on the docket to be normalized. And it's been in the works for the last 20 years. So it's not something that we're looking at, because we're still living under the social dichotomy, the social psychology of this European context, where the pedophilia is normalized. I'm telling you, right now I'm reading one of Baruti's books called To Educate the People, right? It's the book I'm in the meat of right now. And he talks about babysitting versus child rearing. Babysitting is just watching a child or just being in the presence of the child. I'm gonna just babysit the child. That child could be compromised in regards to being being given adult content, adult language, being sexually violated, being taught things that are developmentally inappropriate. All of these things happen all the time, and compromising the mind and the body or whatever of the children through babysitting, which also could be pedophilia. Whereas us, if we're serious about rearing our children and centering ourselves in our children, we know that that is insanity.
I think before Arreal picked this up, I was thinking about this. I was like thinking about this one day, and I think I heard someone mention this somewhere. Because I was like, why would that even happen? And this is a wild theory that I have. Why would an adult even be sexually attracted to a child? And I thought about it, like if you think about it in general, if you're talking about anybody in the animal kingdom, humans as well, because human beings are animals, although we don't want to think that we are, but we are. Whenever someone tries to attack the progeny of someone, it goes into attack mode and it kills the person that's trying to attack their children. And so I have to wonder, is there something in some people where, how can I put this? It's like almost like a way for you to commit suicide, because if you mess with someone's kids, they're gonna kill you. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you go after a child, like for example, it was a guy, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in the 90s, it was a guy, his son was in the Boy Scouts, and his son had got raped by the Scoutmaster. And when they were bringing the guy through the airport, they had handcuffs on him. The dad was in the airport. He came from behind the phone booth and shot the guy in the head in the middle of the airport and killed him. And the guy got off. He didn't get any time. He wasn't arrested. They just were like, because of what happened to his son, I guess they went with the insanity angle, and he just snapped and lost it, caught the dude at the airport and killed him. And so the fact that it's something in certain adults, I don't know why it is, where you want to place yourself in a position to get killed by this child's parents. It's just like a crazy mental disorder. But I want to ask Arreal, I'm sorry, was you about to say something, Dave?
Yeah, a man instinctively, I don't have to think to protect my wife and my children. You know what I'm saying?
It's instinct.
It's just instinct.
Yeah, you're going to kill anybody.
It's just natural. It's nature. Like, yo, my wife, my child, anything that would compromise the safety of the woman and the child, you already go into a certain mechanism. So
it's not just with human. It's just not with human beings. Like I say, if I went to a deer, like I saw a video of a deer with her little cub, and a dog came up and was trying, well, not cub, I forgot what you call a small reindeer. I think it's a fawn, I forgot. But she was with the small, like her child or whatever, and the dog came up. This deer kicked the shit out of that dog. I mean, the dog's eyes was all busted up and it was limping away. And this is a deer, something that we think of as a docile animal. But when his child was in danger, boom, it turned on and went into attack mode. You know, so it's just like you go after anybody's kids, it's over. You know, and one of the things, I'm gonna be honest with you, like we were talking off camera before the episode, and I know you told me that you kind of want to keep certain things, so I'm not gonna really put it out there, but it's just
this is no truth bar.
Okay, well, I'm still gonna respect you. You said certain things you don't want to really speak on with this project that you're working on. But what I will say is this: when you think about the ways that kids can be harmed in this country, and the fact that, and I personally speaking, I don't have the resources at my disposal to homeschool if I was to have children, right? And so when I think about it like that, and them going into the public school system, and then not only that, but all of the different sorts of predators that are out there, it often makes me hesitant to even want to be a father and have kids, because everywhere you turn, it's just all of these crazy dangers for children. And so I wanted to, kick the mic over to Arreal. If there's something else you wanted to add to this subject, please feel free before we jump into the next topic.
So I was going to talk about the original question. I believe it was about you were saying like why we're not equally disgusted when it's a female.
Yeah.
So I was going to speak about that versus when a male is looked as the pedophile, the predator, versus a female. When you say like if it's a 15-year-old boy child that's, you said, bagged a 30-year-old, then he's getting, props from older guys and children his age. So I think we live in a society where men and boys, they are taught that their worth comes from their sexual organs. They're not taught to value themselves, and the more women you sleep with or the more women that you can get, you're the man. You are, and it goes back also to, I believe, like in the plantation days where if you were the man on the plantation, they take you to breed you with the other, all the females. If you were the biggest and the baddest man, they wanted your genes to breed so you can have, they can have more babies and believe that those will have the superior genes to work on, the plantation, so they can sell for more money or whatever. So you would look as the man if you were the one chosen to have sex with all the females. So then that, I believe, mindset, because when we got off the plantation, we didn't get the proper healing and therapy. So that mindset just came and kept on passed on from generation to generation, where now it's normalized where, if you're the man, you sleeping with all these women or whatever. So now you're a boy and you sleeping with grown women. You really the man. So I believe like it's a generational trauma that we've normalized to think that it's okay for men to just go sleep and just put, lay with anyone and not respect their bodies. So we don't look at those women who's molesting these little boys as predators. We're looking at them as, they're helping them to bring them into their manhood, because being a man is the woman that they sleep with, how many, or, so I believe that's part of that trauma that we have to, look at and see where it comes from, look at the root to try to deal with that and heal it so we can rid that from our community.
It's definitely a fact. And I think another facet of that is that we had nothing. We had no other semblance from that particular position of slavery to justify our manhood. So we would use things such as, and even if you go back and look at plantations, not only to be able to procreate the most, but your physical prowess, your brutality against other Black people now, not against anyone else. These things were indicative of your manhood, of your masculinity. And it kept going on even until this current period that we live in, because I remember growing up, and Dave might remember this as well. If you're a young boy and you're around older Black men and you're a teenager, one of the first questions you get asked, are you having sex yet? Are you, I'm gonna say it like how the cats around the way would say it, are you knocking anything down yet? you know, and if you say no, or you act all, you know, like, nah, I'm not doing that, you would get made fun of. People would say, what's wrong with you? Why you ain't out here? You know, I remember, you know, you being 13, 14, your uncles or your cousins giving you condoms, like, yeah, you need to go out there and hit something. This is how they spoke where I came from. And so not only do we have that trauma, that intergenerational trauma that we have from that particular period of you have, because I think one of the things we don't talk about racism in the Western systemic way of looking at things, everything is a dichotomy, everything is a binary. So in order for me to validate myself, you have to be lesser than. Either I'm going to do that with money, I'm going to do it with property, or if I look at the fact that I can commoditize and see the sexuality of women as a thing to be possessed, if I can get more of that than this guy over here, I must be more of a man. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have in our society. And I think it's real. And it's just sad that, I don't know if Dave can speak to this, to some of the, you know, back in the day when he was growing up as a teenager, but definitely I know in the barbershop, older men, if you were like 13, 14, they were like, hey, you hitting anything yet? You getting into anything yet? It was like you were pressured and you were looked at as weird or ostracized if you were a man and you hit like a certain age, like 15, 16, 17, and you were still you were still a virgin at that point. It just was a really pervasive thing growing up. Dave, your mic ain't, I don't think you, unmute yourself.
Yeah, so one of the things being raised by a single woman, a single Black woman is that those same things that you gave reference to is like, you know, like here, take some condoms, you know what I mean? When you're going, you know, be doing those types of things. My aunts and my mom was on that, you know what I mean? My father returned when I was 11, you know? So I was raised by Black women, you know what I mean? I had have a physical sister. My physical sister lived with me too, but she went off to HU to, you know, Hampton, you know what I mean? But my aunts and my moms was on it like that, like, you know, when you want, and I did. I did. It didn't take me long. You know what I mean? I did. So that's interesting that you gave allude to that, because that's exactly what we are perpetuating instead of developing these men, these young men, these boys to a rites of passage of manhood. Again, the system is working 12 times better than it was even set up to work, as Ree continues to give reference and allude to. This system that we are in and that is working in us and on us is so strong. It's just so strong that it's going to take us to plant seeds in the minds and then water and nurture and light those seeds so many times to be able to regurgitate these systems. But the other thing is that another thing that I don't think you mentioned that plays into that is the sexualization of everything and everybody that we deal with now. Whether you on the internet, whether you listening to modern hip hop music, whether you listening to modern R&B music, whether you watching motion pictures, almost all art forms that are cool or that are modern are over-sexualizing the man and the woman, or the boy and the girl at their youngest. Even so, and this is something I had to look at myself at in regards to, because the sexualization of the psyche, the left and the right side of the brain, is so formidable now that it's like, if you don't realize it, you will be caught in its web and you won't be able to identify it so that you can regurgitate and fight against it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you 13, 14, 15, 16 and older, and you doing all of these things to get some, to attract some, to attack, to, you know, give, all in sexual prowess ways. And there's a whole socialized system set up to feed that, and we're caught. We're caught in it. We're caught in it.
And the biggest problem, it really ties into the capitalistic system, it's lucrative. It makes money. If I can put sex beside a product, it's going to sell. So the primary objective here is not really the moral compass of young people. It's not really avoiding over sexualizing young people. If it's something that's going to make money and is going to help my product, whether that's buying your attention and keeping you on this social media app, whether it's getting you to purchase this vehicle over here. If I have to over sexualize something, if I have to exploit a really base and primal aspect of human nature, although in reality, sexuality and sex itself is a vehicle for creation, it's a spiritual aspect, but under this paradigm that we live under, we only look at things in the superficial base primal aspect, and we're not acknowledging all of the esoteric and occult meanings behind that particular act. But if it's going to make money and if it's profitable, it's lucrative, then this culture is going to continue to perpetuate it. And so I want to jump into the next topic.
Let me add one thing, because you gave mention of something that's really important for anybody that may be able to get wave and sound of this podcast and this recording. So you mentioned the homeschool aspect, or you feeling very hesitant about having children, and the idea of them even having to go through the so-called public school system or their socialization systems. Their systems are also very much infused with indoctrinating our children's mind with those same things that we just talked about, right? And so you have, what are we in? Fall 2020. So from summer 2020, we're in fall 2021. From summer 2020 to September 2021, 36%, it was a 36% raise of families that chose to go from allowing their children to be in the public school system to now homeschooling their children. Fairfax County, Virginia, I just chose a locale that's close to us. And I think Ree may know this because we have a Rise Up chat, and I put some information there, and our sister, Mimi, she added on because she has a sibling that lives and has their children in Fairfax County. Fairfax County public school system now for more than 2 years have been infusing something in the so-called family life curriculum that in the textbooks and in the verbiage, they have normalized men being intimate with men and women being intimate with women, starting at 5 years, which is the kindergarten age. So their system, going from all the things we just talked about, but to even now infusing the idea of pedophilia as we know it into the minds of our children at their earliest developmental stages, is still all a part of their social plan.
But I also think that it's as part of a social plan, but the reality is we live in a system that sees us as ways to make money. And so the larger scope, I think, of the educational system is to get you just to become a worker, an automaton, a consumer. And all of these different things are a part of that. So your humanity really isn't acknowledged. It's what can make you the best worker so you can be the best cog in the machine, and you can just go out and buy stuff, eat junk food, sit home in front of a TV, and don't really think about what's going on in this world. And so I thank you for, bringing that up. And like I say, listen, for me, whatever two consenting adults want to do behind closed doors is up to them. That's none of my business, But I think children, in my opinion, children don't really need to be hit with sex at a young age. I don't care if you're talking about, two people of the same sex being intimate, if you're talking to two people in a heterosexual capacity being intimate. I remember when I was a kid, I didn't have to worry about any of that. I didn't need to focus in on sexuality. I just was allowed to be a child and to be young and to worry about dumb stuff that kids would worry about. And I just think that whenever you're introducing these heavy subjects to children, they really shouldn't, like for example, your prefrontal cortex doesn't really even fully evolve until you're 25. Some people would say 30. And so this is the part of your brain that's responsible for a lot of complex decision making. So certain subjects I just don't think should be in front of kids because it's over their head. It's not something that they need at that age. So listen, I want to kind of move into two things really quick. The first thing I want to move into to kind of switch it up and have it on a more lighthearted note, we were talking about the Kanye West interview earlier, and we were talking about his opinions on Talib Kweli. And one of the things I stated was that when I was looking at Kanye, Kanye got on the Drink Champs podcast, and he mentioned, people like Dr. Claude Anderson. He mentioned how the Democratic Party panders for votes. Although I don't really believe in the two-party system, I'm not a fan of the Republican nor the Democratic Party. To be honest with you, there are a lot of good independent candidates out there as well that people can vote for or get behind. But anyway, he mentioned that, and he talked about Talib Kweli being the worst rapper, that he's worked with, and he never respected his bars. Mind you, they've done numerous songs together over the past few years, but you say you don't like his style, but you've been on several of his albums, and he's been on several of yours, which is really peculiar. But you pointed out the mental health issues. But the thing I wanted to point out the most with Kanye and Talib Kweli is that he's mentioning all of these kind of empowerment ideals, but he used materialism to denigrate his brother, to denigrate Talib Kweli, who is not only a phenomenal lyricist, he does a lot of great things, in his community. He's always being a voice for the struggle as well. And I just found it ironic for a guy like Kanye West to say that he's for Black people and he's speaking his words. He's truly being like an innovative leader. For him to then turn around and use kind of more of a materialistic way of classifying someone's worth to then down Talib Kweli. And so, Dave, you could build on the point you was making earlier about that exchange. Well, better yet, I want to go to Ray because she didn't get to talk yet. From what you've seen, if you came across a clip, what's your opinion on some of the things that Kanye West was saying during that interview, if you were able to come across any of the clips?
Well, I haven't seen any of it, so I'm not really sure what he was, speaking of. But from what you said, and you gave, a summary of what he was saying, I think Kanye just like being in the spotlight. He liked everything to be about him. So I'm not sure what was being said, but if he was speaking of empowering, the Black community, but also at the same time bringing down another Black brother, I can't see how that two, go along with each other. But I'm not sure of everything that he was saying.
Yeah, check it out. It's a wild episode. One of the things he stated, he said he doesn't believe in Black History Month. Why are we always looking at the past? He said that we should get rid of Black History Month and have a Black Future Month. So we're looking at what we're going to be in the future and the things we're going to create. I don't see a look of agreement on Ray's face with Kanye's statement, but these are his words. And so, Dave, just kind of build on, what you were talking about earlier before we went off.
Yeah, the brother is interesting. I'm gonna take what he said about Talib Kweli with a grain of salt. I actually have a few acquaintances, friends, I would call them brothers and sisters, that are immediate parts of Talib Kweli's team, you know what I mean, his development and his artistry and in the industry itself. So, as far as that brother Kanye, man, this system is going to swallow you and spit you out. It really is going to swallow you and spit you out. So if you got billionaire status, or if you consider one of the greatest, or whatever it is, these titles or whatever that we allow them to use us to identify ourselves or to anoint ourselves, you can get caught in that all you want to. But being that I know the brothers from the South Side of Chicago, being that I know the brother has gone through the struggle of losing his mother, of dealing with identity issues, emotional and social and psychological trauma, I would really hope, I would really build that the brother find some quiet space and time to work on and center and develop himself. However, talking about Talib and trying to, it seems kind of combative or like, in a competition. Like we can't be in competition with each other. Like, there's nobody that's going to win if we're competing against each other. And the other thing is that it's just not true. Talib Kweli is he's nice. He's nice on the board. He's nice as a producer. He's nice as a freestyle MC. He's an amazing artist all the way around. You know what I mean? He may not be the best in the world, but you know, Talib Kweli is a nice artist. He's a great artist. You know, I don't know him personally, but again, I have acquaintances and friends that actually do know him personally. So for me, that speaks to his character, because I wouldn't probably, you know, have relationships with the people that I have that hold him in high regard if he wasn't a person of good character. So, you know, maybe I think that Kanye should work on his character, work on himself. You know, if he's trying to become a super trillionaire, work on that. You know, if that's what you want, if that's what you seek, if that's what's going to justify your love, peace, and happiness. But, you know, let's not tear each other down. Let's not compare. And like you said, I mean, we could go back to the 90s. Some of these records that they on together, they are classics for those of us that study hip hop, that listen to boom bap beats and lyrics, like just boom bap beats and lyrics. Like they got stuff together, and we know Kanye and we know Talib have things together. So we, you know, I wouldn't go against the competing or tearing each other down, or why that would make any sense in any way. It just attests to the fact that Kanye constantly needs to kind of work on his self-development.
Indeed. And yeah, I think Kanye is he has a lot of intelligence. I think at times he can have sparks of brilliance. I think he's a really intelligent brother, but I just think he's lost. And I think, you know, with some proper guidance, you know, maybe he can kind of be led back into the right direction. Real quick, Dave, before you get up off here, I found an old book of mine that I used to love to read back in the day. And, you know, I thought of you, and I don't know if you remember this joint.
Yeah, that's a whole episode right there.
Yeah, man. Like I thought about you because I was thinking about, you know, wars and a few other things, and you know, I was coming across some stuff about Drew Ali and all of that, man. Noble Drew Ali, excuse me. So yeah, but listen, real quick before we go, because I done held y'all for a long time. It's getting late. Arreal, if there's any projects, anything you got coming out, just let the people know. Same thing with you, Dave, and then we'll go ahead and close on out.
So very soon I will be releasing my children's book, Acting Adventures. So you can follow me on Generational Press on my Instagram. My website is under construction, but it will be generationalpress.com. So you can check me out there. So very soon my book will be released.
Okay, thanks, sister. And Dave?
You ain't give them your Instagram. Your Instagram.
Generational Press. That's the Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, the Instagram is Rise Up RVA. You know, we on all platforms. That's Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and Instagram. The website is riseuprva.com. You know, the Rise Up Apparel website is live. You know, we got fall sales going on. It's riseuprvaapparel.bigcartel.com. My family and my team, my wife, you know, they doing good things. They have an initiative called the United Black Birth Collective. You know, it's a lot of, you know, sisters and families that need support and services in terms of midwifery, you know, doula work, prenatal, perinatal care. So if you follow them there on Instagram, it's UBBC_INC, and the website is ubbcconnect.com. You know, that's something I'm kind of supporting and empowering right now. There'll be a fundraiser coming in January. They had the first fundraiser about 2-3 weeks ago, and that was successful. Give thanks to everybody that supported it. One of my brothers from my nation and I are working on a few projects.